What's going on, everybody? My name's Jonathan, exercise specialist here at the Burke Fitness Center, here with my best friend, Sofia Lopez, also exercise specialist. And today I want to show you how to use resistance bands. Now, at a time like this, when fitness facilities and gyms are still closed, it's important for us to find alternative ways to fit exercise into our lives, and resistance bands are a great way to achieve that. So, resistance bands are great because they're versatile and they're inexpensive. Usually they come in a pack of different resistances, and usually they are more affordable than getting a pair of dumbbells. So today we're going to show you what different types of resistance bands there are on the market and how to use them. So we will do that right now. Okay, so the first type of resistance band that we are going to look into is called the tube resistance band. You can easily identify them because they usually come with handles. And the first exercise that we're going to look into are bicep curls. So you're going to put one foot on the band, palms facing out, shoulders back, and you're just going to curl it up. Good. You're going to bring it down nice and slowly. The biggest difference between resistance bands and dumbbells is because the resistance in a resistance band changes as you elongate the band. So it's the least amount of resistance down here, and it's the most amount of resistance up here. Pretty interesting concept. You can also do it with 2 feet on the resistance band as well. It makes it a little tougher, being that you are now stretching the resistance band even more so. Same thing, shoulders back, palms facing out. So another exercise we can do is a seated row. So you can take a seat in a chair just like so. And what Sofia is going to do is she's going to straighten her legs out, and she's going to put the resistance band around the foot, around her feet. And what she's going to do is she's just going to pull in. Good. As a matter of fact, Sofia, if you don't mind leaning forward a little bit, it gives you a little bit better pull. There we go. Just like that. And same thing, you want to make sure that the shoulders pull back and you control the bands as you move them. Now, a pretty important thing to recognize here is that her feet aren't tilting too far forward, and the band is looped around the middle of her feet. This prevents the band from slipping out of her feet and possibly smacking her in the face, which we don't want to do that. We don't want to hurt the moneymaker here. So that's the resistance band. That's the tube resistance band. Okay, so now what I want to show you is how to mount a tube resistance band to a door using a door mount. Now, these are usually provided with a set of tube resistance bands, and they look like so. They have a little loophole in the middle, and what you can do is thread the whole band through, put the handles on either side, and there you have it. Now from here, what I'm going to show you is how to mount it on the top of your door. You're going to put the thicker side over the door, and you're going to hold it until it threads through. And from here, it is nice and hoisted and secure in the door frame. So now what I'm going to ask is Sofia to come and demonstrate a few exercises for us. And now I'm going to ask her to do a high row. Yep. So you want to make sure that you have enough distance from the door so that the resistance band provides enough tension. And what she's doing is pinching the shoulder blades in the back and keeping the elbows nice and high as well. This targets the back of the shoulders, which is very important for upper body posture. Another exercise we're going to ask her to do is lat pull downs. So we're going to pull it in just like so and bring it down. Good. The key difference between the high row and the lat pull down is the position of the elbows. She's tucking the elbows in while still squeezing the shoulders. Also very good for upper body posture. Now from here, what we can do is also change the position of the resistance band. So instead of it being on top of the door, we can thread it to the side of the door, put it at chest height, and we can do another array of exercises. You want to make sure that it goes through and it's nice and secure in the door frame as well. You're going to grab the handle, Sophia. What Sophia is going to do is a standing row. Good. Very similar to the seated row. She's squeezing the shoulder blades in the back. She's practicing good posture, keeping her chest up. Slight bend in the knees, and her hips are also soft as well. Good. And another exercise that you can do is called a torso rotation. So this targets the obliques and the core. So what Sophia is doing is threading one tube band, one handle through the other handle. This makes the exercise a lot easier to handle. And what she's going to do is stand to a comfortable distance where she still feels tension in the resistance band. And she's just going to rotate from the waist. Notice how her shoulders and her arms aren't moving. It's just her waist that's moving. Very good. She's coming in and she's coming back with control. She's stopping in the middle and she's turning 90 degrees. Of course, you can always adjust the resistance by using a different resistance band, or if you want a real challenge, you can use two handles at the same time. But of course, this is if you feel comfortable doing so. Yeah, so Sophia is definitely feeling that because that is double the resistance as before. So I won't torture you too much, but that is essentially how to mount a resistance band, specifically tube resistance band, to a door frame. The next exercise, or the next type of resistance band that we're going to look into, is called the loop band. So Sophia, if you do not mind. So the loop band is different from the tube resistance band, being that it is literally a loop. Now it's also differs from the tube resistance band because it also comes in a wider range of resistance, usually ranging from as little as 5 pounds to upwards of 150 pounds of resistance. So these are also pretty versatile. What you can do is called an exercise called the deadlift. So what Sophia's going to do is put the band around the loop just like so. And all she's going to do, she's going to bend over, she's going to hinge at the hips. Good. And she's going to stand up nice and tall. As a matter of fact, Sophia, if you don't mind turning sideways so that people can get a better look. Yep, perfect. So what Sophia is going to do, she's going to hinge at the hips. The hips are going to hinge all the way back. The back is still straight. And the bands are nice and tense. This is nice and tight. And what she's going to do is stand up, shooting through the hips. Stand up nice and tall. Good. Just like that. And when you come down, you want to make sure that you're not rounding the top of your back and you are keeping your legs nice and straight. Now, you can also do this in a traditional sense. What she just did is called a stiff leg deadlift. She can do a traditional deadlift where she keeps her chest up and she allows her knees to track forward. So that's what she's going to do. And she's going to come down, and you want to make sure that your heels are still on the ground, and she's going to shoot up. She's going to stand right up. Just like that. Yep. You're going to come down, shoulders back, same thing. Back is nice and straight. and she's driving through her heels. So that is a traditional deadlift. Those are two types of deadlifts that you can do with the loop bands. Another exercise that you can do with this is called a chest press or a push-up. Essentially what you're going to be targeting is the chest and the triceps. So what Sophia just did quickly without me even seeing is that she actually turned around again, is that she twisted the band around her shoulders. Okay, so what she's gonna do now is all she's gonna do is she's gonna grip the band with both hands and she's just gonna push forward, just like that. Yup, almost like you're wearing suspenders. You just want to push forward. Sophia, if you don't mind turning sideways for a better view, she's gonna keep her shoulders back and she's going to push from the chest and she's going to straighten her arms out, flexing the triceps. Just like that. Do another rep for me. All good. So that's essentially the loop bands. You can also get pretty creative with this, meaning that you can also do the same type of exercise that we showed before with a seated row, and you can also wrap this around other stable objects in your home and possibly do some other pulling exercises like standing rows as well. What we're gonna now go into is another type of resistance band called a therapy band. So if you don't mind. So just like the name suggests, this is more typically seen in therapeutic settings like physical therapy or occupational therapy. But this is very good to have in your own home as well, especially if you're looking for low impact exercise. It's very easy on the joints and it's really easy to manipulate it and put it around different objects for other types of exercises as well. So a good exercise that I like to do is called a ribbon tear. So what she's going to do is she's going to straighten her arms out. Now from here, you want to make sure that this is very tense, okay? The further she grips this out, the less tense this becomes and the easier that exercise becomes. But because we're working out here, we're going to make sure that this is nice and tense. And Sophia, if you don't mind, you're going to straighten the band and bring the band to your chest, just like that. And you're going to bring it back without bending the arms either. Good. And keep going. Bring the band to your chest. Very good. Turn sideways for me. The important thing that she's doing is that she's not pulling with her arms, she's pulling with her shoulders. Okay? She's allowing the shoulders to squeeze in the back and she's activating her back here. Her arms have nothing to do with the exercise. It's just the shoulders and it's just her upper back here. You want to think of squeezing a grape between your shoulder blades. As a matter of fact, for a better view, I want you to face the wall over here, Sophia. And as a matter of fact, with her hair here, she's technically going to squeeze her hair. So what she's going to do, she's going to, and you can see her shirt kind of scrunching up here. That means that she is allowing her shoulder blades to pinch in the back. That is great form. It's why she's an exercise specialist. It's why she gets paid the big bucks. Anyway, another exercise that we can do is a external rotation in the shoulders. Now what she's going to do is she can either hold it palms up like so, or she could hold it palms down. Either way, she can hold it just like that. Same principle here. You want to make sure that there is tightness in the band before you start the movement. And if you start the movement and it's too hard to get back there, then you might want to consider loosening up that tension by spreading the distance between your hands. So what she's going to do now is she's just going to rotate from the shoulders and she's going to go all the way as far back as she can without pain. And she's going to come back in. Good. And come back again. And she's gonna come back in. Now the idea here is not to get as far as you can, but the idea is to feel the exercise as much as you can in the shoulder blades, as much as the shoulders allow. This actually is good for better range of motion in your shoulders. So if we have any sort of rotator cuff injury in the past, this is also a good exercise to kind of rehab it or get a little bit more motion in the shoulder joint. And that is external rotation. And that pretty much wraps it up with the therapy band. Like I said before, resistance bands are very versatile. So all the exercises that I showed you can be done with these other types of resistance bands. If you want to get creative, you can also wrap this around sturdy objects in your home, use it as a pulling mechanism or as a stable axis for you to do any sort of rotational exercises too. And lastly, what we're going to look into is the mini band, okay? This is like the loop band that I showed you before, but it's much smaller, much thinner, and much wider too. So this is Sofia's favorite, as she told me. The reason why she loves it so much is because the mini band, also like therapy band, is more so typically seen in therapeutic settings like physical therapy or occupational therapy, being that it's good to work out the smaller muscle groups with the mini band. So a good exercise like we showed before is an external rotation. She can rotate from her shoulders, and she might not get as far because this is much smaller and it's much tighter. So she's gonna just do a few reps of those. Same thing. She's gonna keep her shoulders back, and she's just going to rotate from the shoulders. Also, if she wanted to add a little bit more of a challenge to this exercise, Sophia, what you're going to do is you're going to rotate, you're going to stop until your arms are parallel with each other, and you're going to push out and keep that tension right here. You're going to bring it back in, and you're going to reset. Good, just like that. And you're going to come out, push out, bring it back in. Good. These are working the smaller muscle groups in the shoulder, allows for more stability in the shoulder, allows for more range of motion, more mobility in the shoulder joint. It protects the shoulder, especially if you are an athlete and you play sports like tennis or golf. These are both sports that utilize the shoulder joint pretty heavily, so it's important that we keep that joint nice and protective, nice and strong. So another exercise I'm going to ask Sophia to do is called monster walks. So what she's going to do, she's going to take a seat in the chair, and she's going to put the band around her knees, just above the knees. Good. And what she's going to do is she's going to stand up. And as a matter of fact, what you're going to do is you're going to turn to the side, and she's going to do the exercises from here to there. What she's going to do is she's going to get into a small squat. Good. She's going to stay nice and low, keeping the hips back and the knees tracked forward, staying on her heels. She's just going to walk to the side. Good. And she's going to come back, just like that. This is good for the hips. Same concept as the shoulder. Because they're both ball and socket joints, they operate in the same way. They have small muscle groups around the joint and ligaments and such to keep it nice and stable and sturdy. And those are exercises we do not want to neglect. Good. So that is monster walks. You can tell that she's already had enough of it. So that's Also, what you can do with the mini band. Now I'm going to show you another exercise that you can use with the mini band on a table, and I'm going to show you that now. Okay, so here we are at the table. We're going to show you how to use the mini band around the hips for an exercise called hip abduction. So what Sofia is going to do is she's going to wrap the mini band around her knees, above the knees. And what she's going to do is she's going to lay on her side. Now from here, what she's going to do is she's going to keep both feet glued together, and she's going to lift her knee up, keeping this knee down. So you're going to do that, rotate from the hips, lift it straight up, and come back down. Just like that. So this also targets muscles in the hip joint. And this is called hip abduction. This is an exercise you can do with mini bands. You can also do this with a therapy band, but I strongly recommend a mini band, being that it fully wraps around the knees and it is nice and tense and tight. So it's giving Sofia a nice challenge right now. Also, another exercise that I'm gonna have Sofia do is a glute bridge. So Sofia is going to lie on her back. Both feet are parallel to each other, and she's going to make sure that the band here has nice tension, it's nice and tight. And what she's going to do is she's going to shoot her hips up to the sky, driving her heels down into the table, keeping that tension in the band. She's going to do another rep. She's going to push up. This also targets the hip joint, just like the hip abduction, but this also targets the glutes as well. This is good for balance, and it also is good for glute strength. And yeah, that's about it with the mini bands. Thank you guys so much for watching. That was how to use resistance bands at home. What we're going to do is drop a few links in the description on where to find affordable and appropriate resistance bands. Now, I'm Jonathan. This is Sofia. We are exercise specialists here at the Burke Fitness Center. We encourage you to stay safe, stay active. Until next time.